I had a Black daughter. Like, kind of late to realize that. Then he...
Well, yeah, and clearly he's attracted to Black women. I mean, there's we've got some conflicts going on here, I'd say. Yes.
It was the drugs, apparently. He was drunk. He was out of his mind when he got her pregnant, and then it just happened. I don't know. That's the story he told me. So yeah. He said it also in the Daily Mail where his father raised him, was not pro color.
And he actually said to you, like, by the way, you're going to meet my father, and FYI, I didn't like Black people in the past, and that's how I grew up. And when you meet my father, don't expect too much. He doesn't like Black people.
No, he didn't say it like that. Like, he would just say, it's a normal conversation, like when you're dating someone, right? And you're talking about race. And he's like, yeah, well, that just wasn't cool growing up. So it wasn't like he was giving me a PSA announcement, but he was always bringing up that it wasn't, and even Nanny, they all admitted that it just wasn't something that they embraced.
Even Julie.
I've never heard Julie say anything racial or anything about her upbringing on color. She never really brought up race to me, but Todd and Nanny and Kyle have been very vocal about that. Lindsay too. That's just not something they were raised to accept, or definitely not date or bring home. And like, even when he got Chloe, like, the story's consistent with everyone. The comments that were said were just the story. When I came in, I kind of came after the brink of the big racial awareness, because there was already Chloe in the situation. So they were already tainted by this thing. So yeah, that's where it all started, was with Chloe. And then I came along. So they were kind of like having to be open about the conversation. And they weren't, used to it. They didn't want it in their family.
Wow. Interesting. Were Chase and Savannah welcoming to you, when you were introduced?
Yeah, they were much younger. I think they were like in their teens then, 14, 15. I think Savannah was probably 14. And Grayson was little, like 7 or 6. So yeah, they were kids. They kind of watched from the outside. They were always sweet, always, polite. Yeah, they didn't give any drama or trouble. I kind of watched them with their siblings have issues. Like, I know Chase and Lindsay had issues going on, but Chase and Savannah never brought any trouble to me.
And like, did they display any racial predilections to not liking you, either them or Julie, or was it really just Todd?
It was really just Todd. And like I said, with Todd and with Todd, he was learning with Chloe. So Chloe came in the situation afterwards. She wasn't there when I got there. So it was like after the show started. It's exactly like Kyle said on the Daily Mail. Like, he went after Chloe after the show kind of advised him to, because it looked crazy to have a Black granddaughter somewhere in the middle of Anderson, South Carolina. So when he went for her, it was like an all or nothing situation, which that was kind of wrong. Like, it was like, okay, we're taking her. She'd never been with them before. So here she comes in this all white family and 7 months old. And then it was like joint custody. It was like half and half. And then the whole goal, which he was very clear on, was he was going to have her full time. And then, of course, he put her on the show, and all that just happened. Like, it really happened as he planned. He like controls everything down to the, yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been in family court, I mean, it's actually, they usually go out of their way to make sure a parent has custody. I mean, the parents have to really fuck up. I mean, it's actually shocking that Todd and Julie ended up, because Kyle sober now, and the girlfriend, Savannah, Chloe's mom. I mean, I know they've had on and off issues, but I mean, it's actually shocking that Todd and Julie have full custody.
Chloe's mom's never been on drugs. She's never even been drunk, to my knowledge. This girl is just, or maybe not be the richest girl, but she's just from the South, from humble beginnings. She doesn't have anything wrong with her in that sense. So that's why I'm so glad that this podcast is going to bring awareness to what judge signed off on this? I know in the beginning it was an agreement. She agreed. And he'd given her, stuff that she needed at the time. And like I said, she was from a, humble beginning. So, he was flashing money and material things at her. But as we saw in the new TMZ article, she wants her daughter back. When she found out he was going to jail, she spoke up that she's always been steady on that, that she wants her daughter back. And I have no idea who's not looking into this to see why this girl does not have her daughter. And even Kyle was clean for 5 years straight. Even if he'd done drugs, let's say the years he wasn't, like I know for 2 years out of our marriage, he was totally using, beginning first year and then the last year. That's when we divorced. And then the whole 5 years in between, he was working, he was clean, he had drug tests, hair follicle tests. There was no drugs in, him. He was doing well. I don't know where he is now, but I believe he's sober, still supposed to be. But my question is, even visitation or having rights, I've never seen a child just get adopted with a mother that's never done drugs and a father that has been on and off using, but has provided and is totally able to visit his child.
Do you think, this is just where my mind goes, Todd is so controlling and, wants the whole family to say something when the process servers are knocking on the door. And like, do you think somehow like he's an influential person in the court system in Georgia and somehow you're shaking your head?
Yeah. Even where he got it registered, like, first of all, court shouldn't even happen in Georgia because she was living in South Carolina. It's usually jurisdiction of where the child lives.
Yeah.
So if anything was happening, the paperwork should have initiated and started in South Carolina. Because that's where she was born, Chloe was born and raised up until 7 months. How all of this happened in Georgia, he's got some major connections because a judge normally, that's the first question asked. I have a daughter now from a new relationship. You just can't get custody in any state you want if your child's been living here. So I don't know what, like I said, I try not to speak on it because it's so sad and it's terrible because you can imagine a mother without her daughter for so many years. Yeah, that's gotta be hard.
I mean, I have a 2-year-old son. It's just, I can't even imagine being away from him ever, 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 or someone else having any custody of him. It's just, once you become a mom. I want to, I know David and I are curious. So from the moment you met Todd, did he always want to be famous?
Yes. So there was no show when I first met him. They'd done a pilot or sizzle reel prior and they hadn't heard anything back. So, you know how shows are, you're just waiting on a response. If you don't get a response, which 9 times out of 10 people don't get a response or they just don't get chosen. So I just thought it was going to be a don't get chosen because months had passed and I'd met them now for months. So, yeah, Kyle was like, hopefully one day we'll hear from them. But that was the only thing we ever heard about it. So everyone's going about their life. And then finally, I believe like in the springtime, they got a phone call that it was happening. And I'll never forget, they were, of course, over the moon that they were going to get that first season. And so, oh yeah, that was when, Todd was already bad from the first meeting. But when that happened, he was like, this is how it's gonna be. It's like you haven't even started filming yet. You don't even
And
know.
now you're gonna do even more shit I want. So this is
he turned up like it went way up. It was like, oh goodness, this is not gonna be good. And it wasn't. That show was not good for his already narcissistic character.
Well, did he call